guys, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how I created these nice labels for these craft boxes that I purchased. Let me switch this paper over. That way you can see a little bit more simplified version without the distracting beautiful paper. But here is the craft box I purchased. I purchased these at Michael's. I believe they come in a few different colors. I think there's a pink as well as a blue, and I picked up the clear version because I thought it'd be pretty to have a nice blush label on them. I can't quite remember how much they were. I think I got them on Doorbuster. I know that they were very affordable, and I snagged 4 while I was there. So the first one that I bought is going to be for paper, and I did that label already. It fits perfectly the standard 12 by 12 scrapbook paper. So I picked that one up, and it keeps it all nice and organized. And I also labeled, hopefully you can see, I labeled the sides as well, because I do intend on stacking these boxes, so I wanted to make sure that I could have them labeled on the side for easy retrieval. So I did the paper one. And then I also grabbed one for HTV because it fits these HTV rolls just perfectly. So I want to make sure that I could differentiate between my HTV and my vinyl rolls. So I purchased one for that. And then I also purchased one for my Easy Press mats because the Easy Press mats fit perfectly within there. So I grabbed one for that. And then the one I'm going to be doing with you guys today is the vinyl. So again, I'll put a piece of paper right here. So all my vinyl rolls, and I'm sure I'm going to collect more as my crafting continues, but all my vinyl rolls fit perfectly rolled up within the box here. And I also intend on putting just my scrap vinyl in there too, as I keep crafting, and you know how you have scraps all the time for your vinyl. So I'm going to also keep that in there too. So I'm going to put this piece of paper in here. That way I can just simplify this a little bit and we won't be distracted by the pretty vinyl, and we can see our space that we're going to be working with for the label. So before we do anything else, I'm going to measure the top. I'm going to there's 2 little like indents along the edges of the scrapbook box. So I'm going to use those as my corners or lines, and I'm going to measure. So that is 12. So again, from here to here, not quite to the end. 12 by, looks like just about 11.5. So almost a perfect square. So 12 by 11.5. And then I'm also going to measure this outward side. So we have about, I would say about 5.5 by 1.5 to work with there. So I'm going to make a label for the top with that pretty leaf wreath. I'm really obsessed with that look right now. I just think it's so pretty. And then of course it'll say vinyl in the middle. And then I'm also going to have a vinyl label for the side. Okay, so let's jump into design space, and I will show you guys how to create that label. Okay, so here we are in the Cricut design space. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to images, and that is where I'm going to find my wreath that is going to be on the top of the box. I know it's called Vine Leaf Wreath. You can also just type in wreath up here, and there's Cricut Design Space has some beautiful wreath options. Like I said, I'm really obsessed with this look right now, so I've been using a variety of wreath options as borders for a lot of the designs I've been doing. This first one is the one that I chose. I am a Cricut Access member, so it is, I'm subscribed to this, so the image is free for me. So I will just insert the image here. So we measured our space, and it was about 11.5 by 12. So I always want a lot of room around my, I want a little bit of space. I don't want this to be butted up right against the edges of my box. So I'm going to do about 9.5 by 9.5. That way I have a little space between where the design begins and where the end of the box is. I have like a little bit of space between all of that. I think it looks a little bit more intentional instead of making this let's say 11.5 by 11.5. I think it's just too big and it almost makes it look unintentional. So I always go just a tad bit smaller so that I can have a little bit of border around my design. I think it just looks a little nicer. Okay, so I have my wreath and I have it sized where I want it. That looks great. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this text and I'm going to add my vinyl word. I'm going to do it all in capital letters. And I actually used American Typewriter as the font for this project. Okay, so I'm just going to, a lot of the sizing I do, whoops, let me send this to the back. Oop, send this front. Whoops. Send back, there we go. When I'm sizing things, a lot of it's very visual for me, so that looks good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to duplicate this because it's going to be the same text that I'm going to use for the label on the side of the box. So I'm just going to hit duplicate, and all I did was right click and hit duplicate. And then I'm going to move this one off to the side, and I believe I had, what was it, 5.5 by 1.5. So this is just about right for the sizing. I think I'm going to have the height be about 1 inch. So I'm just going to drag this out a little bit by hitting this corner button here, and I'm just going to drag it out to make that text a little bit bigger. I'm going to go right about there. And I had 5.5 inches to work with, and this is 5, so I'm still looking good. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to weld these two together, and I'll tell you why. The reason why is because I want this to print exactly like this when it cuts out on my Cricut. I want everything to be placed all the same because I've already done the hard work of centering it here, and I know I like how this looks visually, so I just want the wreath and the word vinyl to print all together. So I'm going to just select both of those. I'm going to come down here to weld, and then it's going to place it all together, so it's going to print together. So this is going to be printed out of my pink vinyl, and this is going to be printed out of my pink vinyl as well. And the reason why I go through and actually color it the color I intend to is because I want everything to print out on the same vinyl at the same time. If I were to keep this black, I'll show you what would happen. When I would go to hit make it would actually place that second label on a different colored mat because it thinks that I want to print it out on black vinyl or a different color vinyl, whereas it's completely fine for it to print out on this as well because it's all going to be the same color. So I'm going to hit cancel. I'm going to go back and I'm going to color this pink. And when I go to hit make it, it's all going to be on the same mat, which is perfect. I'm going to hit cancel and make this just a little bit smaller. Okay, just to be on the safe side. Okay, let's go ahead and make it. Once you see a visual of how your cuts are going to be placed on your mat, you can actually go through and move them around if you like. So I'm going to put this on its side just to save a little bit of vinyl. And I don't need to mirror it because I'm just using regular vinyl, and I'm going to hit continue. Now my Cricut Design Space is just finding my maker. I have it set up for Bluetooth, so it is going to find that for us. Okay, and then what it's going to ask us is what we are printing, and we're going to be printing out on vinyl. And I'm going to use default pressure, and I'm all set to go. Okay, so now I'm just going to put the vinyl on my mat. The vinyl that I'm going to be using is actually from Paper Studio. I really liked this blush color. I actually, to be honest, prefer the Oracle 651 vinyl. I just think that it is really, really nice to work with. But I really liked this blush color that I saw from Paper Studio, which is Hobby Lobby. So you can get that there. It is permanent vinyl. So that is the vinyl I'm going to use for this project. So I'm just going to put it down on my mat. As straight as I can. Okay, and I'm just going to use my little scraper tool just to make sure that that vinyl is nice and flat on the mat. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to load it into my Cricut, and then as soon as the Cricut button starts flashing, it means it's ready to cut, just like that, and it's gonna get going. Okay, so while that is cutting, I am going to clean off this a little much in there. I'm just using some rubbing alcohol just to clean off the top. This just helps the vinyl to stick better to the surface, as well as just getting all of the, you know, if there's any dirt or grime on there, get that all off. I will warn you guys that this comes with like a really big sticker on the front that is a little bit of a stinker to get off. So as well as like cleaning the surface, it's kind of getting that little sticky residue off. Sometimes stickers come off so easy, and sometimes they're just quite a stinker. So this one was a stinker. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry. A lot of rubbing alcohol on that, so just going through to help that with a blank one. Dry a little bit more. Okay. Looks good. Okay, so other things I'm going to be using are, I'm going to be using my weeding tool to weed out the vinyl. I'm also going to be using my scraper tool just to scrape down the vinyl before I weed it. You guys will watch me do that in a second. And I'm also going to be using this transfer tape. It's by Expressions. I really do like it. And I'm going to show you how I will, even though this is only about, I think this is a 6-inch roll, and obviously our label is a lot bigger than that, so I'll show you how I can still use this on a label or image that's a lot bigger. I'm also going to use my Cricut paper trimmer. This is going to help me just cut off the excess vinyl. I like to use the paper trimmer because it just leaves nice, really straight edges. That way when I go to use my vinyl again, I have some really nice even pieces to work with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel this off the mat. And just to protect the design, I'm going to peel the mat away from the vinyl as opposed to just ripping the vinyl off the mat the other way. Sometimes it's just easier to do it this way. Okay, we're done with the mat. Okay. And extra vinyl. Okay, just get my little scrap pieces saved here. I like to keep any and all vinyl that I can, because not only is it expensive to work with, but you'll never know what you can use your little scrap pieces for. I've done tons of projects where I just needed just like a little bit, and it's a nice way to be able to just do a lot of different projects out of your scrap stuff, and it is really gratifying to be able to do really fun projects out of what would have been thrown away. So make sure you keep those. Okay, so I'm going to weed out what I don't need. So what I'm going to do is I'm using my weeding tool. I'm just going to weed out all of the excess that is not part of my design. So nice. Okay, so this will be my label for the front. And you know what? I just realized that I did not wash off that front part too, so let me do that. I want to make sure that that front part is washed nice too. Give it plenty of time to dry. So I'm just gonna wash this off real quick, like so. Okay. Now I'm just gonna weed out the label for the top of the box, and the wreath, it's so pretty, but it has a lot of little curves and swoops in it, so I just make sure to go as slow as I can. That way I don't accidentally rip part of my design, because that can be so frustrating. I'm not sure about you guys, but I find weeding to be really, really relaxing. It's almost one of my favorite parts of working with vinyl. But I understand that people either really enjoy it or really dread doing it. So let me know below what you feel about it. Do you guys find it relaxing and enjoyable, or do you guys kind of hurry through it because it's not your favorite part? Okay, and then I'm just going to go through and weed out the middle pieces. I love this wreath. I think it is so pretty. I want to say I used it on a different project too, but it's just not coming to mind on what I did it with. I really like this wreath look. I hope this kind of style stays around for a while, because I've been kind of basing a lot of my projects and designs off of it, and I just think it's super, super pretty. Almost done. Okay, I'm just gonna look one more time, make sure I didn't forget to weed out any pieces. Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna trim off this little excess here. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply our transfer tape. And I'll keep this for another project. Okay. So the best thing about working with this is you can kind of size it however you need it. So, whoops, be careful with it though. I'm just going to cut it to size, and I'm going to use 2 pieces to lay down on here. Okay. I'm just going to rub it down. Okay. And one more piece. And you actually can just rip this. It's super easy to rip. Again, I just kind of like to cut it just because it leaves me with a nice clean piece to work with the next time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to overlap that just a little bit. Okay. And then what I'll do is I will use this excess piece for my other right here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and scrape this down really good. And I'll save this little piece for, I'm actually working on another project right now that requires little tiny pieces of transfer tape, so I'm just going to save that over there. Okay, so I'm just going to scrape this down really good to make sure that that vinyl adheres well to the transfer tape. This is how we are going to get the vinyl up off of the carrier sheet so that we can lay it back down on our craft box and transfer it over, which is why they call it transfer paper. Okay, and I'm going to turn it over and do the same on the back too. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to keep my scraper handy while I'm actually going to scrape it down a little bit more. Okay, so going nice and slow. Sometimes you kind of have to help get the vinyl started. I think I've kind of run into this a lot with this vinyl. That's why I kind of prefer this Oracle. I kind of feel like it just comes up really, really well. So I just kind of keep my little tool handy just to kind of help it come off the carrier sheet. And going nice and slow so I don't rip the vinyl. I kind of do my best not to actually touch the vinyl, with, like the back of the vinyl with my fingers, just because I feel like our fingers kind of carry a lot of oils, and I don't know, it makes sense to me. I'm not sure if it's actually a rule or not that you shouldn't do that, but it always kind of seems like it's maybe best not to touch it because I don't want to like ruin the stickiness of it. Or okay. Just helping that along. kind of being a stinker today, but that's okay. It's going to look so good that it's worth all of the effort. Sometimes on bigger pieces like this too, I like to cut off what I've already taken off. That way it doesn't accidentally fall back on to the vinyl and then kind of defeat the process. Let me just do it this way a little bit too. There we go. So these boxes are actually working out really well because I have a little bit of limited craft space. So it's kind of a nice way to get everything organized, and especially because they're stackable. I really like that part of it. So next time you're at Michael's, keep this in mind because it's a really nice, easy way to get a little bit of organization to craft stuff. Also, it's nice because it can all be put away and you're not having to, I don't know if you guys are like that either, whoops, but I kind of like to put my stuff away and not necessarily see it at all times. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Okay. So 99% of my projects I really just eyeball. So I'm just mainly looking at the space between my border and the end of my wreath. And you have to be super careful because once it's down, it's pretty much down. So I'm just kind of eyeballing where I want it to go. And I'm going to lay it down. So I just kind of press it down, and then I'm going to go back with my scraper tool and just really get it down. And then I'm just going to do this bottom part first. Oh, it looks so good. What's nice about working with two pieces of transfer tape is that once you rip one off, you can just kind of set it to the side and get started on the next one. Okay, so this is how it turned out. I love it. You might find that you have a couple little bubbles in your vinyl, which is totally fine. You can either kind of work them out with your fingers. You can take your scraper tool and just kind of push them out. Quite honestly, this is a great activity to do in front of your favorite show because it could be a little tedious. But with that being said, oh my gosh, it looks so cute. I'm super happy with it, and I love that once I put the side label on, that it's going to look so good stacked. So let me get this one off of the carrier sheet and we will put that on the side. One thing I'm thinking is that I might try also just to get some stronger grip transfer tape for this particular vinyl, because it seems like Paper Studio vinyl, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, but in my time crafting with it, it seems like it's really adhered to the carrier sheet, which is this white sheet. So I'm wondering if maybe I just need like a little bit of a stronger grip transfer tape when working with this particular vinyl, because look at this beautiful blush color. I mean, it's so worth the little extra step to get it off of this carrier sheet because it's so pretty. This is a favorite color at my house. We are obsessed with this blush. So, okay. I'm gonna trim this little piece off. Okay. Boop. Let me put this on the side and we'll just put this on there. Again, I eyeball it. Don't they say that the human eye, like, is accurate up to, like, what is it, 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch? I can't remember the exact measurement, but our human eye is pretty darn accurate. So I kind of rely on that. But if you need to, go ahead and use a little measuring tape to make sure you guys are all centered. Okay, voila. My goodness, I think that looks so cute, and I really like that text. So again, here is how you can make a personalized label for your craft boxes. I think it's a really fun idea and a really great way to get organized. So now that we're heading into New Year, if your resolution is to get your craft space a little bit more organized, here is a great project for you guys to get started with. So hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. And again, you can, in Cricut Design Space, you can pick any type of wreath that you like, pick any type of text that you guys like to personalize it to fit better for you. If you enjoyed watching this craft tutorial, make sure you give me a thumbs up and make sure that you subscribe if you want to see what I'm crafting next. Thanks guys, have a good one.